Sandal felt none the worse for his adventure, but grumbled dreadfully about being back at work again. A few nights later, he and Skarloey were resting in the sheds when Wendell, one of the works diesels, pushed a flat truck with a small red tender engine on it into the sidings adjacent to their line. Sir Handel was startled by the engine's size and looked on in disbelief. "My word," he exclaimed. "Surely he can't be a proper steam engine. He's far too small." The engine scowled at him. "You watch your mouth," he warned. "I'm one of the strongest engines on my line." "You?" snorted Sir Handel. "Surely not." "I am, and you're lucky I'm not on that wharf because I'd..." all right, that's quite enough, you two," Skarloey chuckled, trying to restore order to the situation before Duke arrived back. "Remember when Goldie came and enlightened us about mountain railways? Well, this is similar to that, Sir Handel. I recall hearing of a small railway on the island, you know?" Duke backed into the shed and recognized the little engine immediately. "Ah, that's one of the little engines who helped the fat and thin clergyman in rescuing me," he smiled fondly. "Skarloey, Sir Handel, this is Mike." "Oh, yes," said Mike. "I recall now. You're Duke." "They built a new line over our old one, Sir Handel," Duke explained. "That's where Mike and his friends live and work. Your line was gone long before ours came along, though. We run from Alsborough, next to Duck's Crouch Line, and into the hills like you used to, past Farquhar Roads and the Green. We were brought in to bring away the spoils from the mines at Casnahowen to use as weed killer ballast on the railways. Ah, if only we'd known that the waste had such useful properties at the time, our line might not have closed. Such a shame. But I'm happy here all the same, reunited with my old shedmates." Skarloey was growing curious about the old line. "So, were there more of you on the Mid-Sordor Railway, Duke?" "Oh, yes, Skarloey," Duke recalled fondly. "It was quite a long railway, and we needed quite a fair number of engines to run it. Tim, Jerry, and an engine who worked mostly at the mine so low she belonged to the railway. Miney, as we called her. Some of her engines from the earlier days had been scrapped before, and you, Sir Handel, were brought in to actually replace one of them. He was another acquisition from the Falcon Works in Loughborough. Albert. Was this Albert as bad as him?" chuckled Mike, referring to Sir Handel, who shot him a dirty look in return. "That's enough of your lip," snapped Sir Handel firmly. He knew all about his predecessor's behavior, as his driver on the Mid-Sordor had worked with Albert before. Driver never spoke well of Albert. Whatever happened to him anyway? "Oh, he learned his lesson the hard way," said Duke, rolling his eyes and sighing deeply as he recalled the unfortunate tale of Albert's downfall. Albert was primarily a goods engine, with a fearsome reputation on the Mid-Sordor and a tendency to be very difficult. His crew often felt the brunt of his temper, and he used to bully them relentlessly. "Remember to clean my smoke books out properly this time," he barked one night at the sheds. "I've been choked full of soot and ash all day, thanks to your negligence." Duke didn't take kindly to Albert's attitude. "You really have no respect for your crew whatsoever, do you?" "Who would?" Albert grimaced. "When it can't clean the tubes out properly at the end of a day's work, what respect are they due?" "Engines should work with their crews, not against them, Albert," Duke said firmly. "Your poor attitude will come back and bite you in the ashpan one day. Mark my words." "Humph, I know better. I always have done." Duke said no more. Albert was never one to listen to reason and remained steadfast in his belief that he knew better than anyone else, and that included the manager. But there did come a day when Albert would find his ways weren't always the best. It was his last run of the day, and as usual, he was in a hurry to get back to the sheds. He bustled around the quarries, shunting the trucks fiercely and bumping them forcefully around the yards, much to the annoyance of the foreman. "Be careful, you silly engine. Bump them like that and they're liable to break." But Albert took no notice of him. They're dispensable, horrible, rickety old things, not worth the materials they'd cope with. Well, so long as they can carry the materials to the port, then I don't care what you make of them. Now, less of this nonsense and behave yourself. Albert continued to marshal the trucks around the yard, and without much further mishap, brought them to the junction to wait for Duke to pass with the picnic. Albert felt crosser still at having to wait. He's taking liberties again. He's late. Calm down, said his driver. He's probably been held up with sheep or something. I should take priority myself and run on anyway. Knowing him, we'd probably cleared a section before he's even got this far. Eventually, Duke hurried it through, trying to make up for lost time. And soon after, Albert was allowed to start off again. He hurried along the line, intent on getting back to the yards for what he believed to be a well-earned rest. But his hopes for a clear run-through were dashed when his crew began to slow him down at the next station. "Why are we stopping? Your tanks are running low," said the fireman. "We need more water to keep on going." "Never mind the water. We've wasted enough time thanks to Duke, so we'll carry on regardless." The driver and fireman tried to reason with him, but Albert refused to listen. At the station, they tried to brake, but Albert deliberately used the weight of the trucks to keep on rolling and overshot the water tower. They tried in vain to go back, but the weight of the trucks and Albert's lack of cooperation didn't make for easy work. "It's no good," the driver said at last. "We'll have to try and get water further down." This was the opportunity the trucks had been waiting for. They were tired of being bumped and banged by Albert, and now, they decided, was the time to pay him out. Duke had arrived safely at the port and made up sufficient time. Albert shouldn't have been too far behind with his goods, but tonight there was no sign of him. Duke was anxious. For all his faults, he is usually very punctual. I wonder what's wrong. They soon found out. Albert's fireman came plodding down the line with urgent news for the station master. Albert's overheated. He wouldn't stop for water at the workstation, so we carried on regardless, and now he's stuck about a mile or so up the line with a dry throat. We need Duke to help shift him. Without delay, Duke hurried off up the line to the point where Albert was standing. The driver had thrown the fire out and was now doing all he could to cool him down. "I think it might have been better to listen to your crew for once, Albert. Just wait until manager finds out. He will not be pleased. It was the wrecked trucks," Albert wheezed pathetically. "They held back and had made things worse than they should have been. We could have managed." "You would have managed with more water in the tank," said the fireman firmly. "Then we wouldn't have struggled when the trucks began to play up." The driver could only agree with him. "I can only hope you've learnt your lesson after this." But the lesson had come too late for Albert. "You've always been a troublesome sort of engine," the manager said firmly, "and the damage you've caused yourself will not be easy to repair either. The inspector says your firebox crown has melted as a result of your foolishness." I apologize, sir," said Albert meekly. "I promise it won't happen again." "Indeed it will not, for we will not be mending you. At least this way other engines on this railway will learn that a little respect goes a long way. You shall be taken apart and used for spares for the other engines, yes. Good day to you, Albert." Albert was put to the back of the shed and taken to bits over time. Duke and the others often felt guilty about accepting his, spares, but they knew that manager was right in his decision. "It's a pity," Duke often thought when he recalled Albert. "He did learn his lesson. Just a shame that it was too late."